You go to Guy's Reservoir, to this new Hancock Wellness Center there.
Right. Yeah.
You go on north,
Yes.
Yeah, I got.
and then there's Leo's on. Might be,
He goes, yeah.
but they're working on some infrastructure right there, but
Mhm.
I'm gonna do that. I'm doing Whitestown now. We were still up now in Whitestown, and I'm gonna do something here and I'll be mine.
I'm retired.
Time to be done with, relax a little bit. Sell GNC next year and just do the real estate and that, and probably buy more fire department.
And he goes, yeah.
Just real estate. Unless something just falls in my lap.
I'm like, well, you got the money. So,
How many acres of land that spot over there?
All the hoops that I had to
That
go through with the
corner we was talking about?
Well, there's
So,
probably.
but anyway, we're excited.
Yeah.
It's probably.
20 acre.
They, see,
Yeah.
they're infringing on the highway department.
Yeah.
To do
and
anything.
we had the plans.
You got setbacks.
The
State road.
When they have people parked there facing 67,
Yeah.
that's state highway.
Well, then, yeah, and then setbacks from the state road at 75 feet.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Everything's got
Somebody would,
the whole.
somebody buy that corner for $1 million, but you wouldn't
See.
you'd have to set on it a long time to do something with it. You wouldn't be able to do nothing with it.
All the
We
kitchen
don't put
equipment.
that kind of traffic, that's such a dangerous intersection anyway.
Where the
Kids
back
in the morning,
is,
in the evening, and then
then the storage.
25,000
nobody
cars
sees,
go by
that's
in a
gonna
day.
be
My phone down.
And then the upstairs, which we're now just leave it for storage for right now, but could make more for the kitchen.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm moved on,
So.
Clevenger.
You deal with that.
That refrigerator on my property.
Okay.
So I got a little thing about it, and remember I called you that day?
Yes.
So I seen the letter,
I was like, you
and I
know,
told him, the guy
we
told
closed on the building.
October 1st, there's a thousand on the line from us. And then if I have to seek legal counsel, we're responsible for insurance, get it from still balance and all that stuff. You know Jim Anderson,
Yes. He's a good guy.
Jim handles all my stuff,
Good guy.
him and Tom Beeman, and so I just started messing with him. Trust.
Yeah.
Certified mail. So,
Good for them.
well, when I get ready to develop it,
Now,
it's been 6 months since I asked him to do it, and when I get ready to do something, we sure, I don't want to have to, I've already turned the engineer loose. I'm doing the engineering work.
to get permits for some things.
So I had another permit that was supposed to go in there. That was a chain, and they wanted to lease a half an acre. So I was gonna lease them a half an acre, and then
They
I was gonna check the other 7 an acre and go like a 6,000 square foot strip. I just have it one big thing. Actually, when I wanted to do it, they never respond, So I think I gave them a slap. So then after 10 minutes, now it's other people are calling back.
Yeah.
I had 2 deals, there's no deals, and I got 2 deals.
You over here?
Yeah, what do you do?
At the council, we discussed it. Oh, yeah, okay, I got it. Hi.
All right. Well, Google says it's 6 o'clock, so let's call the meeting to order for the October RDC. Do a roll call, determine quorum. Start with you, Mike.
Mike Hanna here.
Dave Craven's here.
Craig Campbell here.
Steve Denny here.
Dan Maddox here.
Excellent. We have a roll call and a quorum. Approval of minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting?
Yes.
Any questions or comments about any of that? We have a motion to accept the minutes as written.
So moved.
Second.
And we have a second. Motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting as written. Passes. Old business, we have no old business. Is that correct? Are we good with the TIF? I saw you guys in the minutes past all that. Is that all done and dusted?
There's nothing more that needs to be done.
Fantastic.
It's been sent to
Thank
the auditor. So we're good to go on that.
Excellent, thank you. New business, mutual release and termination of agreement with GDI Holdings.
Steph, is anybody online? Okay, I'll just stay here if you don't mind. This is the first subject I dealt with as town manager, right?
The first ones I dealt with is town attorney.
Yeah, and so anyway, when the industrial park that's owned by the town was formed out there at South Heritage Way, they went into an agreement with GDI. I think it originally stood for Greenfield Developers, and they were given a contract to market the properties out there and for the town. And so they went into an agreement with, since they're mostly a developer, they went into an agreement with the subcontractor, which was their broker, real estate broker. And so they had an agreement with them. When the Community Sports and Wellness Center went in, the town donated that land. And so that subcontractor came to GDI and said, hey, I should be afforded my commission because we had exclusive rights through GDI to market that property. We just took away business. So, and GDI lost opportunity too, but GDI came to the town and said, look, we got to at least pay this guy because we're going to have a contract with him. We're not going to go after the town for our lost commission. So can you at least pay us enough so that we can pay off the subcontractor? And so then we went back and forth for a little bit, and I came back to him and said, okay, this is what we'll do. Not until you actually have sold some ground, there's some cash flow, then we'll reimburse you. Well, since then, in the last 2 years with the quadrant study at I-69 and GDI specialized in basically warehouses. And after the study, the quadrant study, and what we saw happen at McCordsville, what road is that? Not Oleo Road. It's Oleo Road, but
600.
yeah, what's the road called when it goes
Mount Comfort going that
Mount
way.
Comfort? Thank
Yes.
you.
Mhm.
And all the terrors that were created by that warehousing out there, you know, we just don't want to go down that road. So back and forth with them a little bit, said, hey, look, why don't we just pay you what it was calculated that the commission for your subcontractor is, and let's just in the contract. So what's before you is your decision to go ahead, pay off what's needed, and go ahead and terminate the contract.
I think we talked about this over almost a year ago, if I remember. I think we had discussed
Yeah.
this then.
Yeah, but we hadn't talked about this cut and fade and move forward.
It's a shame because they did nothing for us, but I understand we have to pay.
If we don't do this, how do you see this playing out?
They'll sue us. No way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very.
So I guess I just newer coming in, the agreements they have, if were in place, are very strong and
Yeah, they relied on us living up to our end of the bargain on the original contract, and on that reliance, they hired an agent. They ran a debt to the agent due to our actions. The agent would go after them, and they turn around and go after us. So everybody's been very patient. These guys have been very easy to work with on this. I certainly understand that it's disappointing what happened, but they've been real professionals throughout the whole thing.
And they did not to come after us.
So the previous administration made the deal for the 25 acres. Nobody thought to think about the deal they had with GDI. Okay. We can't go after those people who made those decisions.
They're a public official.
Okay.
Protected under their they made a judgment call.
Okay. And then the subcontractor, I've never heard the name of the subcontractor.
Jones Lang LaSalle Brokerage Incorporated.
Jones.
Jones Lang
Okay.
LaSalle
LaSalle.
Brokerage Incorporated. They're out of Indy.
Okay.
So basically, they're brokering the deals, and then GDI comes in and just building the warehouses and stuff.
Could be.
Yeah.
GDI
Curious.
had, yeah, GDI had the option. GDI hires this guy to find buyers.
Sure.
I just want to remember this company.
So you go tag them this Halloween.
No, I just want to remember them for future reference.
Yeah, with GDI is a big company, and then actually the owners lives, the residents of Pendleton.
I'm just talking about the subcontractors. I feel a lot better that GDI did take their cut.
So do we need to make a motion?
Find a motion to approve the contract. It's already been executed by Mr. Sheik at GDI.
And then Craig would sign it.
Right.
Sounds like we don't have much choice. I'll second that.
So we have a motion to accept the contract as written. Dave,
Yes.
is that correct? We have
Make
a
a
second
motion.
from Dan.
Yep.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll accept it as written. Scott, there's in the whereas, August doesn't have a date, right?
Yeah, I will need Scott to tell me what the date. Scott, by his action, the conversation with Mr. Sheik canceled the contract. I just didn't remember the exact date of that. It could actually be taken out completely until August. We could just cross out the blank.
Okay.
It was during August.
Do we need to rewrite it?
No, it just crossed.
Cross through the blank?
Just out of curiosity, in the original contract, was there an expiration date of that agreement, that brokerage company with
Yes.
GDI?
But so I can explain that. So that was approaching. So that's when about the time we became town managers, it was approaching. And so at the time, looking back, it probably would have been a better decision, but a different decision, but we hadn't done the quadrant study and all that stuff. And so to give them a chance to sell property, to create a cash flow for us to pay them off, we extended. the contract. But that's a very good question.
So for development out there, we have no company or individuals that are working for the town.
Me,
Okay.
And this was the whole reason for this decision by the RDC. The previous town manager and the staff didn't have time to do all the stuff they needed to do in town and to market the TIF district. And so we went with a professional in hopes of finding some folks that would come in and use up the property.
so, and so my philosophy, which I have expressed in other meetings, is that time is on our side to just wait and see what the community are. I mean, think about what's happened since then. All of a sudden, well, the need for an aquatic center has popped up. And that's a good location for it. How the world economy is going to work from now on has changed. Sudden Pendleton's a business center because it's a great place to live. 30% of people that can do it now work from home.
And at that time, no one that I talked to on this commission or with the town or anyone else had said anything about Pendleton growing to the size that we all throw the number around now. So
Right.
there was there was literally, hey, we need
The
some.
light
help
bulb
to
hadn't
sell.
come on how fast we're going to grow.
Yeah,
We didn't see what was happening in McCordsville,
right.
right? I mean, thank God we put that stuff in. some ways, this is
Oh, that would
the
be
second
nice.
best scenario.
Yes.
The good thing with Mr. Reski, having, that's a skill set and having his background of infrastructure. That's so important for what, being broker to bring what type of businesses in and what their infrastructure they may need or not need. So, if you're lucky to have his background.
All right. You want me to sign what
Yeah,
you
just
have?
need to
or-
Take a vote.
Yeah. Did we vote?
We did vote.
Oh, we did vote?
Yes.
Okay.
We need to sign this one. I'll get copies to everybody.
Pardon. Yeah, lawyer fan. All right. Moving on to the Community Aquatic Center study.
Okay.
You have a copy of it here, Joel. It's on the Google Drive.
All right, so we went through build own transfer process per state law. That's the structure we use. That's the Indiana code that we use to go through the process of building an aquatic center. And so there were 3 respondents, all specialize in build own transfer. As I've said to you and other groups, our preference would have been probably a private developer coming in. And we would have subsidized that private developer as long as he met the minimum requirements of the town, which was competitive swim, 50-yard pool. And be able to have recreational swimming. So anyway, we didn't get that. We just got build on transfer as our only option. We went through the process. All 3 of the teams were excellent. Some of them I've known 20 years in the civil engineering business. Some of the financial consultants I've known for over 20 years, really good. But anyway, they all said, look, we've done several of these pools. They've all done from 10 to 100 pools, right? And they said the formula that we have learned, and all 3 said this, which makes you perk up, is the first thing you need to do is figure out what programs you want so that you can make this pool as self-sustaining as possible. In other words, pools being used by people who pay to use the pool, right? And so they had different ideas and that sort of thing that were mulled around. They almost all universally said, you don't want an outdoor competition pool, you probably want an indoor. 2 of the 3 said you probably just want an indoor pool that has movable walls and roof for the summer, that sort of thing. So, but they said that what you basically have to do is a study to determine what programs, and a marketing study and a financial study that shows that it would be feasible, right? Based on your subsidies, the income that can be generated. And, at the same time, you're playing with the size of the pool or the facility. So step 1 is to go in and look at what the demand would be in this area, this central Indiana, and basically the market that it would feed. And so part of that first step with the team that we negotiated was to do that for us. And they came back, and I forgot the old sheet, but they came back with a number that was over 100,000 to do all that. And I just said, that's out of the ballpark. Let's do 2 things. You need to cut it way back. Then 2, you're giving me steps 1 and 2. Can we go back to step 1? If step 1 shows that there is programmable feasibility, then we go to 2, which is a financial analysis, and you start to look at the cost. You're sizing the pool, you know what the facilities are, you cost it. Then you do a financial analysis to see if the community can sustain it. So if you turn to the last page, they've come back and said, okay, we'll do these fixed fees up here, the 2,000, the 5,000, and then the study itself, phase 1 at 18.5. So it comes to a total of 25.5 to do that first step. And then if we feel comfortable And it looks like there is a path to building this facility because it's a narrow path. I mean, I've said that several times. To make it work, then we can move on to phase 2. But I don't want to commit. I didn't want to commit more than that unless we at least knew what the first step was a go. Why pay for step 2 and step? So anyway, that's what we're before you today. You're deciding to do phase 1 at 25.5. And that's my presentation, Mr. Chairman, and wait for your questions and discussion.
Scott, will a market analysis focus on current Pendleton or 20 years from now Pendleton?
I think it'll be current. That's a really good question. So it'll be current. Phase 2 would be more a pro forma, looking at what it would look like over let's assume a 20-year payout bond on this facility. Is that the same answer I gave you? You asked me that question 2 days ago. Is that the same answer?
Pretty much.
Okay.
But the point the other day and today is,
Yeah.
let's not build, if we can do this, let's not build something that even 10 years from now, there's not enough room for everybody to use it,
Yeah.
Is this market study or market analysis different, or give us a different bird's eye view or anything from the last study we had done from what Henley Horn or that last company?
Oh, for the quadrant?
Yeah,
No, I think, put it this way, I'll just make up a number, 100 different ways a facility can make money, right? Renting it to the school, to the park for recreational swims, splash and safari type facility, lone wolf type facility, aquatics for the young, water aquatics for the old, rehab facilities, there's probably a list of 100 things. And then what they're going to do is go through and see which one of those,
okay,
there's a demand for that in this area.
okay.
Right. One of the big things they're going to look at is large events, like weekend events, competitions, that sort of thing, national events. A lot of national swim events happen at the natatorium. And what they found is that it's inadequate and they need to expand, have more facilities available.
Okay.
So.
because we're trying to make this self-sustaining,
Yeah,
because we're gonna own this pool.
We're gonna own it and we want to minimize the risk.
Yeah.
Now, when we get it back, we'll look at this and I think we'll go through it. I know I'm gonna be skeptical and go, they're saying we can make that much money on doing aerobics, and the market will be, we'll be able to attract people all the way from the west side of India. I'll be like, that may be too far. But, so we'll have to evaluate it. Quite frankly, I'm sure that they'll give us a study that says it's doable.
I was gonna say,
Right.
I heard you say earlier, you think it's a pretty narrow path,
Right,
no matter what the study says. I mean,
right.
Gut's telling you it's a pretty narrow path. I mean, we
Right.
saw the responses from the RFP from private developers,
Yeah.
and it was hard to make it work.
Yeah.
Did they ever give you a figure in regard to yearly maintenance and upkeep?
It all depends on what type of facility you put in. So the design process is you first figure out what programs you want. Then once you know what programs you want, that designates the facility, which designates the construction costs, which designates how you're gonna finance it.
Are they going to be given
Would you agree, Mr. Baker?
Yeah,
are they going to, in this analysis, are we providing them with what we would like to also see there? Or
There'll be the minimums. That's always been up front.
Okay,
The minimums are recreational swim at not affordable cost. So basically close to what it is now at Brown Pool.
And what about like school, like?
Yeah, so what the school wants, the school, the swim club, and Lapel School Corporation all want a 50-meter with a movable bulkhead. So during the winter, you can have two 25-yard pools available for competition and practices.
Right. So
So you could have multiple organizations using the facility at the same time for practice and competition. That's really the town. That's what the town wants. It could, one end of this, one of the experts, is out of Florida. That's what they do, pools. He said, ironically, my gut feeling is that there's probably you could probably make this work at the minimal and at like a Splash and Safari Lone Wolf type facility, right? Because I'm not sure, but it's sort of ironic that there's a dead spot somewhere in here, just from my experience. And, I said we have to do the study, which is what we're talking about.
And then the phase 2 study, I read here at the very bottom, it says it will be a detailed 5-year and 20-year type economic impact. Okay.
So one of the things that they want in the second part is that also, which to me is not that appealing, but it is the economic impact to the community also. So it's but that's not going to pay for the pool.
And the property that we're looking at, possibly where that would go, is that town property or park property?
Town property, and it's out there at the off the Heritage Way, sandwiched between community sports and wellness, which they could complement each other, and then the solar park.
And how many acres?
As far as flat, it's about 10 acres. And they all said 10 acres was enough. And then we could give more ground, but that has the ground is where the hill drops off. Because the hill drops off.
And my final question is the 25.5, where's that money coming from?
It would come out of the TIF.
And yeah, obviously, when would that be payable? When do we need to pay that?
So it's a certain amount up front. It's on the last page.
50%.
50% up front, and then there's payment 2 and payment 3 milestone.
I know we have most of, not all the TIF money is committed for, do we have enough to do that for, is that going to come out in 2023?
Well, you have a lot of cushion right now in your TIF because none of the project's expenses happened in this year. So they get pushed forward to 2024, plus you're building your funds building right now. But it'll, as soon as we start to do the projects, which are the drainage along the river bed between Elm Avenue and Main Street, depot parking lot, and associated projects with that. But as soon as those start to be expended,
Other questions, comments?
In a perfect world, what where the current Brown Pool is, would that be the splash pad
small.
area?
oh, for the splash pad, yeah, I'm sure
That's still part of it.
I'm sure the park board's.
Yeah.
You think this is worthy endeavor, Scott?
I think so. Marissa is on the committee, and she and I met. And she said, I thought this was pretty smart. She goes, we can't say no because we haven't found a pad yet. We got to the only way this community is gonna accept this, if somebody from the outside shows that there is not a pad. So, I think it does two things for us, in the negative and the positive. It shows us the path, that there is a way, and it ends the public debate on whether this is the route we need to go. Plan B is Round Pool does spend $7 million rehabbing their facility. And it's good for another 15, 20 years. Same with the high school. Plan C, which nobody wants. Just let the two facilities die.
It seems like if we're gonna do this, if we have any thoughts of doing it, we need to gather the data that'll show us we can do it or we can't do it. Or just say we're not doing it. Yeah. Save the money and say, there's, sorry, folks, there's not gonna be a pool. Go with Brown.
Yeah, I'm not ready to take that.
I'm not either.
And I don't blame them. I want to find a way to make it work. I mean, I was a swimmer. I get it. Did the swim-a-thon to raise money for the Brown Pool guys in high school. Never got to compete in. Right.
Well, any other comments, questions? Do I have a motion then to accept this? Motion. I have a motion to accept and we have a second. All in favor of accepting this proposal as written, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passed.
Mike, based on your one question, at a minimum, the town or the community still got to spend to keep just what we got.
Yeah.
The Brown Pool can extend the life of both facilities and just keep where we're at. It's 14 million. Just.
All right, anything else to discuss? before we Wrap it up. Anything from the front desk?
Anything from Stephanie?
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn? A motion to adjourn, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Of course not. Motion, meeting adjourned.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you.
Guys,
Steve, you going home? You going down?
I am going to the volleyball